What is happening, YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be giving my personal opinions about the wild card on how each team could beat each other teams. And I'm going to give my so-called prediction, but really it's just a team who I lean to win the game. I'll be more confident in some teams more than other teams, but end of the day, I'm going to try my best to give like how both sides can beat, you know, each could, beat each other pretty much. So it's not like, like like a straightforward oh, this team's gonna win and that. Well, it kind of is, but I'm gonna just give how each of these teams could win. So if anybody's watching this video trying to decide who to bet your money on, this is not the video to listen to. I'm not the guy who you should listen to. This is just like a fun video that I just decided to make. But with further ado, let's get into it. So the Browns versus the Texans. Um, the Browns. A lot of people say the Browns are gonna win. Um, they got very good. My throat's a little dry. My apologies. But the Browns, they do got really good defense. They got Myles Garrett. Um, they don't allow much passing yards and rushing yards. Um, and they do have Joe Flacco, who's been on a tear. Um, which is, he is 38 years old, but he's been on a tear. However, the Texans, they do have CJ Stroud. He's a young and promising quarterback. He's definitely a superstar. He has a really good coaching staff, like the coach and especially the offensive coordinator. I believe they've done a really good job with him, and you know they have really high morale right now. They went from a team that was pretty much like one of the worst teams in the NFL to now they're like in playoff. They're in the wild cards. Um, how the Browns could beat the Texans? Um, the Texans, they're not the best on defense, so I feel like they could take advantage of that. Joe Flacco could have a good game. They got Njoku, they got Hooper, I believe, or Cooper. I forgot his name, but they could, you, use that advantage to beat the Texans, and they got really good defense, so they could try to like pressure C.J. Stroud and all that. So that's how the Browns could win. However, how the Texans could win, um, is just try to step up on their defense. The Browns, their weapons aren't, insanely crazy. They're not like the Dolphins. They're not like the um, who else? They're not like the Bengals. When they're healthy. They don't. Their receiving core is not like the the Vikings with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison or T.J. Hawkinson. Um, but you know, so it could be a doable game for the Texans to really try to clamp up. Um, so who do I lean? I'm gonna go for the hot take. I'm gonna go for the. I think the Texans can pull it off. I believe C.J. Stroud. He's pretty special, and he came from a long way. He's always been really good. Really humble man. Um, and I think C.J. Stroud, he can pull it off. He can throw the ball so well, so accurate, so efficiently. Um, I got the Texans winning as in an upset, but it's a really obviously the Browns are the favorites. I think there's a good chance that the Browns could pull it off, of course, because they got a really good defense. While the Texans, they have C.J. Stroud, who's definitely going to be on the pace to be a superstar, definitely a top five quarterback in the league, probably even top three if you really want to push it far, because that dude is just so efficient. Now, um, the Steelers versus the Bills. Um, I definitely say the Bills got this one. The Steelers, they have a pretty good coach. They have, a solid defense. No, pretty good defense. But The catch is TJ Watt is out. So their defense definitely is taking a hit. They still have Joey Porter Jr., I believe, and they got Najee Harris. Um, but the quarterback is definitely their Achilles heel. That's why I don't see the Steelers being able to beat the Bills, which is, you never know. You never know. But they also got Mike Tomlin, who's a very good coach. Been a coach for over 10 years. So Tomlin, he always been in this experience. But the Bills, they got Josh Allen, who's pretty good. And of course, they have Stephon Diggs. And the Bills defense, um, they've been stepping it up. And Josh Allen, he's a beast, man. He's a beast. But however, one way the Bills could possibly lose if Josh Allen has a really bad game. And unfortunately for Josh Allen, he's known for throwing a lot of interceptions, man. So that could possibly make things harder. But I don't think the Steelers have the quarterback strength to be able to beat the Bills. Um, they start off with Kenny Pickett, then Mitch Trubisky, who's been awful. And there was another person who played, but he was actually pretty good for them. I forgot his name. Um, just a disclaimer, I'm definitely nowhere near a football expert, so I don't really, you know, completely understand the league that well yet. But this is just a fun video. But I don't think they got the quarterback strength to be able to beat the Bills. So I think the Bills, they got this one. Now, the spicy game, the Dolphins versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game. This is probably kind of like my more confident prediction because, well, I shouldn't say confident, but I think I got the Chiefs because it's their home court and the Dolphins, they're used to the warm weather, so they're probably more likely, um, to kind of crumble. Especially the Chiefs, they got really good defense, and the Dolphins, their defense is kind of banged up. Jalen Ramsey, he recently got hurt. I don't know. I think he might play. Um, and then they also have other defensive players that are hurt. Um, but the huge way how the Dolphins could beat the Chiefs is if the Chiefs receivers cannot catch. And that has been a huge weakness of Kansas City. And, the Dolphins, they could probably take advantage of it. But Tua Tagovailoa, he's pretty interception prone. And he fumbles the ball quite often. And people like to hate on Josh Allen for being, that, if it's a bad game, it's a terrible game. But I feel like people need to also give Tua the same type of opinion as well too, because that one game against the Titans, Tyreek Hill, you know, he only played part of the game. He was out, he got hurt, and then I think he came back. And I want to know what happened? The Dolphins lost to the Titans. And Tyreek Hill, I believe he's pretty much like the engine of the Titans of the offense. And if they could find a way to lock up Tyreek Hill and then, and lock up Jalen Waddle, um, I think the Chiefs definitely got this one. And then Patrick Mahomes, he's also a monster in the playoffs. Um, but, the receivers, they got to catch. But then they also got Travis Kelce. But you could also beat the Chiefs if you double team Travis Kelce. But then you're going to force the Chiefs to use Isaiah Pacheco, who I think is a beast as a running back. He's like a strong dude, but pretty quick. So that's how the Chiefs could win. And then, and of course, the Dolphins can win if they double Travis Kelce and the receivers really cannot catch to save their own lives. Um, but I think Kansas City Chiefs, they probably got this one. That's just my personal opinion. Now, the wild card for the NFC, the Buccaneers versus the Eagles. I personally would lean the Eagles because the Eagles, yes, they have been struggling, but the Buccaneers, I feel like um, they got Baker Mayfield, who's has some good moments, but he has a lot of moments when he'd be throwing a good amount of interceptions. But the Eagles, they completely collapsed against the New York Giants, I believe. And shout out the Giants for helping the Chargers out. Um, I think actually I said it was Eagles, but it could go either way. I lean the Eagles just because I feel like, they got so many weapons. They got a solid offensive line. They got Jason Kelsey as center. They got Jalen Hurts. Um, Jalen Hurts has been struggling lately, though. Um, but they got AJ Brown. They got DeAndre Swift. And they got Nick Sirianni. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, they got Baker Mayfield. I think they got Mike Evans, who's been pretty good. Um, but their defense, I heard they've been stepping up lately. I was watching the Jaguars game versus the the Buccaneers, and they definitely held Trevor Lawrence to score only a touchdown, but he was having a concussion, I believe. So that's that. But the Buccaneers defense, I heard they've been stepping up lately. Um, they did struggle against the Carolina Panthers though. Like they only scored 9 points, which is the Panthers. I guess they got good defense, but you got to score a touchdown at least. Um, so I think I lean the Eagles could probably win, but it could go either way. You never know. Um, the Packers versus the Cowboys. Um, so the Dallas Cowboys. They got Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Micah Parsons, who's pretty much like my favorite non-Charger player in the league at the moment. He's a beast. He's a dog. Um, and then they got CeeDee Lamb, who's been tearing it up. Um, Dak Prescott, he has a cannon. He has a cannon of an arm, and that connection to CeeDee Lamb is pretty nice. Um, the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, he has been having a resurgence. Um, after he played against the Chargers, he was actually on a run. He defeated the Lions, um, and then his momentum just keeps going. They also got Jair Alexander, who could probably, shut down CeeDee Lamb. Um, they got pretty good defense for passing, but the rushing defense, though, hasn't really been it. And they are the same team that let Baker Mayfield let them up. People on Baker Mayfield's kind of mixed. Some says he's pretty good. Some says he's not it. So, um, and a lot of people say this game could be the one that upsets the Cowboys. Um, that could be possible because Mike McCarthy, he's been pretty questionable as a coach. Um, not as bad as Brandon Staley, but he has made a lot of suspect decisions. One suspect decision that I remembered because I was watching the Lions versus the Cowboys. Mike McCarthy, he chose to try make Dak Prescott throw a super long pass instead of bleeding the clock, which gave the Lions plenty of time to go for a potential game-winning touchdown. Luckily, the Lions coach was too greedy, and the Lions lost the game. But stuff like that could definitely make you lose in the playoffs. Um, and of course, Jordan Love. You never know. He's on the momentum. But I think the Cowboys should win this one. Um, the defense usually has been solid, and if they just keep making Tony Pollard rush a lot, and Tony Pollard, he's a beast. That's definitely an Achilles heels of beating Green Bay. Meanwhile, Green Bay could beat the Cowboys if Mike McCarthy keeps making a lot of blunder decisions. But I think I lean the Cowboys winning. Um, Alrighty. The last game, probably like one of my favorite games actually, is the Lions versus the Rams. Um, the Lions, they're kind of like the Texans, but even in a bigger success. The Lions, they're actually considered to be a playoff contender. They got Jared Goff, who has an arm, but he's interception prone at times. Um, they have a really good offensive line with Panay Sewell, and they got an elite running back in Jameer Gibbs, and they got Sam Laporta and Amon St. Ra, who's a wide receiver. So they're pretty much all around. And they got Dan Campbell, who seems to be a really good dude. He definitely could rally the locker room up. The Lions got a great team, but I don't have a good feeling about Dan Campbell. I feel like he reminds me too much of Brandon Staley. He seems to be a really good dude. When you listen to him, you would definitely want to give him a hug. You would definitely fight, like try to play your hardest for him. But his decisions making has been very controversial. Um, Now the Rams, the Rams, um, they came from a long way. If you ask anybody, do you think though does the Rams make the playoff in the beginning of the season? A lot of people would say no. Um, a lot of people would have said like they probably wouldn't make the playoffs. A lot of people, wouldn't be believers and all that. But the Rams persevered. They kept going and going, going. They had their struggles, but then they just persevered. They got Matthew Stafford. They got Puka Nakua. They got Aaron Donald. Um, so they got a really good defense, and they have Cooper Kupp. So that's a good receiving core, and their quarterback is, also pretty good. So it's going to be a pretty good game. Um, they got Sean McVay, who's a pretty good coach. Um, I need to pay more attention to the offensive line, but it can't be too bad. Um, Now, how could they beat each other? Well, the Lions could beat the Rams, if they played, you know, to their full potential. If Jared Goff, he plays pretty good, doesn't throw too much any interceptions. Um, Jameer Gibbs have a good game, and the Rams, they have the experience. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've been to the playoffs, so they know what it's like. And the Lions, they don't have the experience. Now, the biggest factor on why I think the Rams gonna win is because, like I said, the Lions coach is too much like Brandon Staley. When I was watching the Lions against the Chargers, um, that dude Dan Campbell, he keeps going for too many fourth downs. And the reason why I think the Rams gonna win, because I think the Rams could take advantage of the line of Dan Campbell going for fourth downs by just playing good defense. They got Aaron Donald. Um, the Rams, they're not the Chargers, so they could definitely play their hearts out on defense. And I'm sure there's gonna be some failed fourth down conversions, and that is gonna definitely bite Dan Campbell pretty darn hard. Like he's gonna like if it's like a 4-3, Dan Campbell, he's going for it. There's no way that he does not want to take a free point. And then that could definitely be used against Dan Campbell, and that's how you beat Dan Campbell, because he always likes to go for fourth downs. And, sometimes I get it. Being aggressive is pretty cool. But a lot of times, the right way is you just have to take the free points, man. Like, that dude, bro, that one play against the Cowboys, he got a touchdown. Um, and usually you kick the field goal to get the 7 points, which would have been tied. But this dude, he keeps going for two. One time it was successful, yes. But the second time, it failed. Luckily, he got another chance. And then he kept going again. So that's why I don't trust the Lions a lot. I believe Dan Campbell, like I said, he's too reckless, and Sean McVay, he's more experienced. So I think my most confident picks out of all the games, a lot of people would say the Chiefs, but I mean, other than obviously the Bills, but obviously the Bills should win, and I mean, yeah, the Bills should win, but other than the Bills and the Chiefs, I think it's gonna be the Rams. I'm confident in the Rams because they've been to the Super Bowl. Now Puka Nakua, oh, that man's on a tear, and I just I just think Sean McVay is gonna exploit that weakness because Campbell, he's too aggressive. Um, you could get away with going fourth downs against Brandon Staley's Chargers because Brandon Staley, he's so inept at coaching. But I think Dan Campbell is kind of inept as well. No, not kind of. He is pretty inept. He he has to learn how to take the free points instead of trying to go for every fourth downs because I think the Rams could definitely play good defense and bam, they would take so many opportunities away from Dan Campbell. Um, but anyways, and also, who do I think is going to go to the Super Bowl? Um, for an NFC, I'd probably say the Ravens. But who I think is going to win it, win it all, I actually think it could be the Rams. Because the Rams, I think they're beating the Lions. Because, like I said, they have the talent, they have the experience, and I don't trust Dan Campbell as the coach. And then when they beat the Lions, assumingly they get the Cowboys, I think the Rams gonna beat the Cowboys as well because similar reasons to how I feel about Dan Campbell. Mike McCarthy, I don't think he is as aggressive as Dan Campbell. However, he does make a lot of boneheaded decisions, like not running the ball and poor clock management and very weird plays. Especially that one play, it was like a fourth and inches. Um, it was against the Packers, I believe. I believe like a year ago. Shout out to Jaguar Gators 9. He basically made videos of dumb decisions. And Mike McCarthy, he always shows up there. And then one of the plays is they could have had Tony Pollard run the ball, but nope, they decided to throw it, even though if it's like just one measly yard. So, and then that cost it the Cowboys the game. So, and also the Cowboys, they're known for choking in the playoffs. So that's why I think the Rams. I think once they beat the Lions, they definitely are beating the Cowboys, and then the Niners versus Rams going to be interesting. But once the Rams get momentum, you never know. So that's how I kind of got the Rams as like my dark horse pick to win the Super Bowl. Um, I just feel they got the experience, they got the talent, and the coach has been pretty good. And obviously, I probably got the Ravens making out the AFC because they're all around. They have really good rushing. They got, very good weapons and very good defense. And they got John Harbaugh. So that's that. But anyways, this should end this video. Let me know what do you think about all these games. Do you agree or disagree with my opinions? Who do you guys got winning the Super Bowl? But anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in, and peace.